This program is brought to you by Vyas Studios. I was too young at that time. I was too young to get into the Maoist agenda at the time, to understand any of it.
Right.
And also when it comes to Nepal being a kingdom as well. I was slightly too young at that time. I've read, I want to hear it from you. You spent some time with the Maoists as well.
Yeah.
Was that you jumping from, okay, this is the music lover, this is the entertainment lover, Kashish, to, okay, let me get into something a little bit serious. Let me get into the true essence of what's happening in the country. Okay, this is it.
It was that.
Was it a conflict?
It wasn't a conflict because I was very clear I was living in a bubble in Kathmandu. Kathmandu in the 90s was a bubble. It was a very good life. The economy was growing. People had internet was suddenly there. The media was flourishing. Bands were coming up. Music scene. Tamil was probably its last golden era. So it was a bubble because every day for a lot of the 90s, because I remember the 90s. I was already a teenager then, right? Which is letting all your audiences know how old I am now. But every night we would go to sleep with the news saying how many people died in an attack somewhere in the country. And every morning we'd wake up and the newspaper would tell us how many, where was the latest attack, how many people died, things like that. So it was actually a really dark time. But my generation wasn't processing it because in Kathmandu particularly, because we weren't living to it, we weren't exposed to it.
Yeah.
And we weren't everyone talks about everything. Back in the day, politics was like older people, uncle, dads, they talk about it. You do your own thing, right? You're not even welcome in the conversation. So there was this distinct sense that there is something going on in this country. No one is talking to me about it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know more about it. And I'm sure other people like me want to know more about it too. So त्यो angle is how I started. And even after writing some articles and coming back fresh, I remember 5 स्तरबाट भर्खर फर्केको थिएँ होइन माओवादीहरूसँग अलमोस्ट 1 हप्ता जति बसेर अनि त्यहाँको कुरा गरिरहेको थिएँ आर्मीको पनि मिस्टेक्सहरू भएको कुरा एन्ड माई फ्रेन्ड इन काठमाडौँ वी वर एट दिस क्लब त्यो जावाको मुनि एउटा क्लब थियो नि के अरे माई गॉड
जावाको मुनि जेबार भने
जेबारमा Friday night my college girlfriend was there and I was telling him what I just witnessed and you're saying this can't be true. I'm saying I just witnessed it. I'm just coming back. I just got back to Kathmandu this afternoon and he couldn't believe these kinds of things are happening across the country. And that made me realize, okay, whatever I'm doing now, I need to do more because there's a huge gap in how we understand what our country is. And so that's kind of really what, shifted me. But it's always been about you have a platform, you tell important stories. The end. Yeah. That there's no two ways about it. Otherwise, what's the point of the platform?
In the 90s, early 2000s, platform was not social media.
It wasn't. It was print.
Print ai ta thiyo.
Online पनि त थिएन त्यति बेला nepalnews.com थियो हैन अरु धेरै थिएन नि.
I want to definitely talk about your experiences with spending time with the Maoists, हैन. Of course, मलाई थाहा भएको त you were in Rolpa, you were definitely तराईमा पनि you were there, हैन. बर्दिया पनि गएको थियो के अरे, हैन. Let's get into this. What made you decide that you want to go? Of course, we understand what made you decide, हैन. Where did you go? How did you work? Okay, as a बिहान म उठे, okay, आज म माओवादीलाई भेट्न चाहन्छु, हैन. Maowadis are killing everybody at that time, and they're being killed too.
They're being killed too.
And then, okay, I want to go.
I think there was always this sense that newspaper je padhirasa is not the full story, हैन. That we have, as someone from the media, as someone an audience,
we know,
we know, हैन. तर के भएको थियो भने खासमा मलाई धेरै अगाडि जानु मन थियो. मैले कनकजी, I was working for Himal Media at the time. अनि कनकजीलाई चाहिँ मैले भनेको थिएँ कि look, I really want to report on the Maoists for my generation, हैन. And he said it's kind of really dangerous. एक्लै जान चाहिँ नि I don't recommend it भन्नुभएको थियो उहाँले. तर ठ्याक्कै 2-3 महिनापछि चाहिँ नि नर्वेबाट 2 जना जर्नलिस्टहरू आउँदै थियो and they were going to report on the Maoist. And so and they had reached out to Kanakji Reza, and Kanakji called me to his office and said, hey, look, I know you wanted to go report on the Maoists. Now's your chance. If you want to take these Norwegian journalists, it's safer for you, and you get to do what you told me you wanted to do. And I was like, yes, there's nothing to think about it.
Yeah.
And he said, like, do you need to talk to your family? I said, I'm going to tell them. I'm not going to ask for permission, but I'm going to tell them I'm going to Rolpa. And at that time, I had to look at the map and figure out where Rolpa was.
Rolpa was, yeah.
I didn't know where Rolpa was. I didn't know where Libang was. And I didn't know what the district headquarters was. I didn't even know where Dang was.
Mm-hmm.
This is like we're talking about 2002.
Mm-hmm. 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20. Oh my God. 20 years ago. And this was but I was working as a fixer for this Norwegian journalist. So there was protection because I was with foreigners. Protection from both sides, from the army and from the Maoists. So being a journalist, I started making phone calls, figure out a contact in Nepalganj. From Nepalganj, figure out a contact in Dang. From Dang, figure out a contact in Rolpa. And so we just hired a jeep. I mean, I don't even know how I was doing at the time. I did all the flight booking, hotel booking, jeep booking, contact making. It was I think it took us a very long jeep ride to get to Rolpa. But it was surreal. Army check after army check after army check after army check. And you finally get to the district headquarters of Rolpa. And it's like a haunted village.
Mm-hmm.
There's hardly anybody out. You don't see men. You don't see young men. You don't see old men. There's like either very senior citizens or very young children. Okay?
Mm.
It's like, and you go, and this is like 2 days after being in Kathmandu, and you're like, entered a completely different world. सोच्दै नसोचेको खालको नेपाल हुन्छ नि. अनि अफ कोर्स आर्मीले बोलाउँछ, पुलिसले बोलाउँछ, किन आएको, के गर्न आएको, यताउता. तर त्यहाँबाट अनि फेरि अलमोस्ट 1.5 घन्टा मात्रै बाहिर निस्केको थियो. फुल माओइस्ट टेरिटोरी. No government presence. Like, there was no existence of the government of Nepal within like half an hour, 45 minutes walking from district headquarters. Okay? माओवादीको एउटा के भोज भइरहेको थियो अनि खसी काटेर बलि चढाइरहेको थियो लोकल मन्दिरमा. And then for 1 week we lived with the Maoists in a hilltop village of some sort. Commanders-haru भेट्यो, कुरा बुझ्यो. It was surreal, It was like, and then you come back to Kathmandu and it's like life is going on. Friday night is Friday night.
You're in J-Bar.
Weekend. Yeah, and you're in J-Bar. It was kind of really, really surreal. Okay, but the thing that I did notice the most was like Maoist soldiers who were 14 years old, 15 years old, and like carrying grenades and 303 rifles, and you're just thinking, that's not what is normal. Obviously, if this is happening in the country, there's something deep that needs to be addressed. And of course, we all know how that folded out.
Yeah. It was just a matter of time.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many wrongs that had to be righted. I never, violence is never my choice of medium, but it happened, I mean, we still haven't figured out how to address it, right? War crimes are issues. Human Rights Commission is still trying to figure out how to make right what we did wrong. But these things take time. There are many countries who went through what Nepal went through, and they're still trying to figure it out. We're, young democracy, post-conflict, 10 years conflict, many, many thousands of people died, so it takes time.
If you love what we are doing, make sure that you subscribe and turn on notification. This program is brought to you by Vyas Studios.